Hi, welcome. In this video, I'd like to respond to a question that I received through email regarding a term that I often use in my book, Beyond the Leash. And that term is power. When I talk about power, shifting power. Now, here's the thing. I wrote that book several years ago. And, as I've put out, more books and, information and videos working with people, some language does, some of my language changes. The dynamics don't change, and the principles don't change, and the methodology doesn't change. But even when I'm using certain examples to help people understand this whole issue of dogs as social relational animals, and, looking at a relationship problem between the dog and owner. The example I use with I reference a relationship problem between a selfish child and a parent. Now, so the term power can be, very confusing, clearly. But again, what you want to replace that word power with is control. The better word to use to reference what's happening in terms of the focus on change, the focus on what's happening in relationships between dogs and owners is, in terms of a relationship problem, is a dog gaining control, a unhealthy level of control, okay? Because again, it's all about understanding, even when I talk about why it is that, what's very common in the dog training world is to, build a picture just at a response level without any sort of context, or it's like looking at the frame of that picture, what frames up or what supports that picture, the backing of it, the frame of it is understanding the depth of what's going on just beyond the appearance of things. So, but again, it's no different than, again, the example I use when you look at, just stepping into a relationship problem between a selfish child and a parent. If you were to apply that narrative, okay, the same way through learning and what's called learning theory, but still applying, still motivating the dog without context, again, without any sort of depth and understanding why the methodology really matters. But again, getting back to this issue of control, okay, so it's understanding an unhealthy level of control, but to even get a baseline for that, reference point for that, looking at, again, okay, understanding behavioral problems, okay, tying that into how control itself manifests, okay, so a dog is expressing an unhealthy way of thinking, okay, the owner's fading out, being objectified, devalued, and control is manifesting in various ways. This is where you get your behavioral problems coming from. And then, if you look at the interactions, I'd really encourage you to think about that, because it's about the context of control, an unhealthy level of control, is, when the dog begins to challenge and reject, okay, being brought under influence, okay, within the parameters of what's reasonable. So everything ties in. So again, you want to take the word power and replace it with control, and then look at the relationship itself and why it's so important that you approach the relationship at that level in terms of change as a relational changing process. So, and what's being advocated, changing the perceptions of the dog. Dogs are social relational animals. And why it's so important and critical that the method lines up. Absolutely critical. So, again, just want to kind of clear the air on that. I can understand the confusion with using a word such as that, as power. But again, just replace the word with control, and then apply that example to a relationship problem between a selfish child and a parent, okay, about who's in control, and this is why, again, when you begin to really frame it up, certain interactions, you really look through that lens that way, the proper lens, it will all start to make perfect sense as to why it is that you want to make sure you're approaching the relationship in terms of changing it the right way. So thanks for watching.